Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
In this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about YouTube, Conkers, and we have part 3 of our interview with Lauren Janus from Phila Engaged Giving.
Good morning, evening, afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Kindness Project. I am joined by a girl who likes to collect undrunk energy drinks and a man who looks like he needs an energy drink right now. It's Charlotte and Russ. How are we doing, guys?
I'm doing good. I got my juice.
You got your juice.
Fine,
And a funky fringe as well, by the looks of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it down so it'll stay down because otherwise.
My days of worrying about a fringe are long gone.
Well, yeah.
What? Hold on. No, you don't need to comment, Russ.
I don't know whether we're related or not because I've got a full head of hair.
You know
Do you
what?
not often shave yours, Russ?
I often shave mine, yeah.
Yeah, I need to get mine done. It's far too long.
Sorry, are you having a hair chat just to mock me or what? Is that what's happening now? Just mocking hair chat you're having?
I'd happily swap mine for yours, though.
What would you mean?
I'd swap my hair for your hair.
Charlotte wouldn't. Charlotte's keeping hers. You know what?
Yeah.
I've got healthy growth. Apart from the bit in the middle at the top of my head, clearly that's the bit that
Dad,
never
you know
grows.
what?
It's barren.
You know what?
It's a desert up there.
Dad, I will take all of the credit, because someone had to turn that into a good drum for when.
Well, you did. We used to, when you were little, I don't want to embarrass you too much, Charlotte, but we used to have it. You wanted at one point to go on Britain's Got Talent, right? This is genuine when you were a lot younger. And
no, I remember
you wanted to go on Britain's Got Talent and play the belly drums, which was basically a game you and I used to play where we used to make drum noises out of each other's belly. Now, that would have been the weirdest thing. What?
Why have I not tuned into that?
Have you never heard of the belly drums we used to do?
We used to do it all the time.
And there was one point where Charlotte said to me, Dad, can we go on Britain's Got Talent? And I said, well,
you should have.
We sort of need a talent. We sort of need a talent. And Russ, Charlotte genuinely said to me, we'll go on there and play belly drums. Now, that would have been weird, wouldn't it?
I remember seeing her singing on YouTube, though. That was quite cute.
Christ.
Seeing what?
Charlotte's video of her singing on YouTube.
Have I seen that? I must have done. What were you singing, Charlotte?
It.
You were the one who put it together.
Yeah, I'm forever.
It's not one of mine, it's one of yours.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, yes. Charlotte Sings. That was still available on YouTube if anybody wants to look it up.
I don't think you should bring back.
You know what's still available? I'm looking to repeat Scary Baby.
Scary Baby was good. I used to love doing that. I haven't done that for ages. I used to make like all of our holiday videos. I used to edit and put on YouTube and stuff like that.
You know what you should bring back?
What?
Poetry Corner.
Poetry Corner.
Well, I can't. Poetry Corner.
I can't because I haven't got a Facebook account anymore, and that was the main platform for Poetry Corner. So I might have to start on Twitter. How's your Twitter projects and Insta projects going, Charlotte? Mug of the week and all that sort of stuff.
Mug of the week's ongoing.
Have you had any joy with it though?
Other than people I know, no.
Right, we need to use our podcast audience to get us sending Charlotte mugs. What industries and mugs are you looking for in particular, Charlotte?
Well, I've got accounting, I've got security. Maybe I could get something that's not accounting, finance, security.
Anything that's not accounting, security, or finance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fair enough.
If you own a chicken coop and you've got mugs, I'll take them. Like.
Oh yes. Yes, that would be a coup.
Yeah. I'm actually starting to run out of mugs to post because I think I only have 5 mugs and I'm 3 weeks in. Yeah.
you need what you need to do is you need to do some lobbying. You need to get a Strath Uni mug so you can do that. What happens
Oh,
if you run
yeah.
out of mugs? Are you doing a rotation then?
I might have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely can we use our meager influence, Russ, and see if we can get some mugs for Charlotte. Do you
I'll
reckon?
see what we can do.
Yeah.
We'll do. Has the Kindness Project mug been up there yet?
I haven't got one.
You
You're
should have one.
joking.
I left them at home.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I've got mine. I had a coffee out of it this morning, so we will make sure
Yeah.
that at some point you get your Kindness Project mug delivered. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So, guess what I've been up to today?
Oh no.
I've been teaching Sophie how to play Conkers.
Conkers, yeah.
Yeah. So for those of our listening audience who don't know what Conkers is, because I don't know, Russ,
That must.
whether it's a
Conkers has to be worldwide, surely.
I mean, bear in mind that Sophie didn't know what Conkers is because I don't think kids play Conkers anymore.
No,
So-
I never.
Wasn't it?
You never played Conkers growing up, did you?
I played Conkers with you.
Yeah. It was only me and you who played Conkers, right?
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be a great idea to have a game of Conkers with Sophie. Like, it's a proper old school game, but it's good.
Yeah.
And basically, do you want to explain Conkers, Russ?
So basically, they're just like pods, like seed pods up in there.
Yeah.
And what you do is you drill a hole. Well, the way we used to do it is keep them in vinegar for a week, bake them, then drill
Yeah.
a hole.
Because you're doing
middle.
whatever you can to make
Yeah.
these
The harder than they are.
seeds.
Yeah.
And they're quite big, aren't they, the seeds?
Yeah.
They're like a decent,
And
I
then
don't know,
you
probably...
Then you drill a hole through the middle, and you put a bit of string, and then you whack each other's conkers.
And then the idea of the game is you break the
You
other
break
person's
the other
conkers.
person's conker, yeah.
Google Conkers. If you've got like these, what would they? I mean, I think they're called Conkers
They're called
throughout the
Conkers.
world, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they are called
They are called
yeah.
Conkers throughout the world. But the game Conkers, you drill a hole in it, and then you like hit each
Yeah.
other's
Yeah,
conkers
each other's
until
conkers, yeah.
you break one of those conkers. So we had a really good game of Conkers earlier on, until I had a misswing, hit myself in a rather sensitive area.
Oh, no.
So I hit my conkers.
With your conker.
The conker. Not a pleasant experience, I've got to say.
Okay.
Weird.
So I didn't know this. Just had to know what they were called. Apparently they come from the horse chestnut.
Oh,
Or
they're
the-
all chestnut seeds, aren't they?
Yeah, or the Aesculus hippocastanum.
Thank you for swiftly moving over the fact that I hit my own private parts with a nut. No, it's not a nut, it's a seed.
You
It's a
could have whacked
seed.
your hippocastanum, couldn't you?
What?
You could have whacked your hippocastanum.
Actually,
Can you Google that, Charlotte? Because I don't know what that means.
no, he
They just told us it's what the
the Aesculus hippocastanum, aka the horse chestnut. And actually, I don't think that those things are the seeds. I think those things are the fruits.
Ah, right, okay.
Okay. Once pollinated by insects, each flower develops into a glossy red-brown conker inside a spiky green husk, which falls in autumn.
that's
But
exactly
you
right.
get rid of the husk. The husk falls off, doesn't it? That's
Yeah.
the idea.
And all of
So-
this is coming from the Woodland Trust website. So
Pretty reliable source. Pretty
Yeah.
reliable source.
yeah.
I think Conkers needs to make a comeback, but we need to add some safety measures
You
to
want,
make sure that nobody injures
you
themselves.
want several retro games to come back, though, don't you? You're trying to keep
do.
people
Love a
on
retro
crowd for retro games like Kirby and
Kirby's not retro. They remake it all the time.
Well, I do want to do a charity event at some point, of which Conkers might be in there.
sorry,
Um,
what Kirby is Charlotte talking
The
about?
little thing.
No, Kirby with a ball and you hit it against the curb.
That sounds boring.
You're talking about the video game Kirby.
Yes.
Russ is talking about chucking the ball against the curb.
Yeah.
What's the idea of Kirby, Russ? Because I don't think I
Kirby,
played
so-
Kirby.
You always had to hit it on the edge of the edge of the curb, and it had to bounce back to you, didn't it?
I've never played Kirby.
Russ. Sorry to say that sounds quite boring.
No, it was quite good fun.
Were you playing it on your own, Russ?
No,
Who was you playing it with?
I can't remember now, but I wasn't
Was
playing.
that friend you had imaginary, Russ? Is that what you're telling us?
With me,
I was playing Kirby with my mate Steve. I don't remember as Steve, Russ.
Oh. I was watching Not Going Out last night.
Right,
It was one of the Christmas specials,
right.
and
Early, but
there was
Bit early, Russ. Start of
Yeah,
October,
yeah,
you're talking about Christmas.
Them reruns on Dave.
Right.
And that was exactly the premise of that show. He had an imaginary friend who he used to play with. Yeah,
Russ, did it bring back memories, Russ?
it did.
What was your imaginary friend called, Russ?
My parents should have called me Billy.
Oh, amazing. I wonder if anybody's imaginary friend had the same name as them. So, like, I'm just imagining Russ's imaginary friend just being
It's
called
Russ.
Russ. Russ and Russ. What one's real? Who knows? Right, let's move on to
Maybe
the
they are
question of
just
the
figments of each
podcast.
other's imagination.
Maybe. Who
Yeah.
exists?
I have a friend,
I mean,
and we say that
we
to
are
each other.
going deep. We
Yeah,
are going deep.
I have a friend. We say that to each other. That we are each figments of each other's imaginations.
What? So who is this?
Aaron.
Aaron. But I
No,
have
the
met,
one you've met.
I have met you and Aaron, which is a bit more a bit more reassuring because I know that you two exist unless you're
You are a
both
figment of each of our imaginations.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. Mhm.
Russ, do you exist, or are you a figment of my imagination?
I wish I was.
or are we each a figment of the universe's imagination as an expression of its will? You know, it's a concept that we can like go on. I have.
Or are we all part of the Matrix, and actually everything we believe is virtual? Hey, sorry, when did we?
Entirely possible.
When did we stop turning into a podcast about kindness and like something somebody would record in a tinfoil hat? When did that happen?
But there's so many questions you can ask about the universe, and there's never any answers, and that's just fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to something a little more superficial. a lot more superficial. This week's question of your podcast, which is, what's your favourite zoo animal? Unless that zoo animal is a figment of your imagination, and that zoo animal actually doesn't exist. Charlotte, what's your favourite fictional or real zoo animal?
My favourite real animal, that would live in a zoo. Do owls count? If not owls.
Oh, owls.
If
Is that a
owls,
zoo animal though?
That wouldn't be a zoo animal, would it?
No.
yeah, that'd be more like a rescue animal. Like, they have them at the wildlife.
Country fairs and that sort of stuff.
If we're going any animal, I think you've got to go. I mean, like you've got to go for something useful, haven't you? Like a St. Bernard springs to mind because it's like carries a bit of like sort of booze to help you to keep you warm.
Yeah, like if I was looking for a useful animal, owl would definitely not be it. Because
I mean, owls are not particularly practical.
Well, I don't know about that. If you need to catch vermin, owls.
Oh yeah, but like in like what's it called? Like, okay, take Harry Potter for example. The use of owls in that is so ridiculous because they are the slowest flying birds. So why would you send your post with the slowest bird on the planet?
But they're meant to be. There's connotations with magic, isn't there?
Well, you could say that about Royal Mail and email these days.
Why would you send a letter when
that
you
is
can
true.
just email someone?
Owls are the Royal Mail of the bird world.
Yeah.
That's the connection. They are. When I see a geezer, when I see my my postman coming along the road. Hello, Cat Weasel, by the way.
Tweet at him?
Sorry?
You who at him?
No, he reminds me of an owl. It reminds me of an owl.
But they are beautiful, majestic animals. And one of my favourite books as a kid was about 3 baby owls who were alone at night, and like the end of the book, their mum comes back and feeds them and stuff. I can't remember what it's called.
I mean, if we're picking favourite zoo animals, surely, and we're getting inspiration for books, surely there's only one.
Lion.
Lion. Is that it, Russ? Lion. There's no story to go with that.
Yeah, either lion.
Where's the book? Where's the book inspiration? Were you going Lion Witch Wardrobe? Ah, right.
What were you thinking?
I want Russell to guess again.
Elephant. Dumbo.
I was thinking, what's that one? The multi-patterned one, and it's covered in the colours.
Elmo the elephant.
Yeah,
I mean,
that one.
there is not a zoo animal, but the hungry caterpillar's up there. The one I was thinking of, I can't believe neither of you have got it. I'm going to give you one more chance.
Tiger.
Badger. Sorry, the zoo animal badger.
Tiger.
Yes. What one?
The tiger who came to tea.
Classic.
Because I was thinking about Soph, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I like though? Meerkats. They're so interactive, meerkats.
It's so funny. I like red pandas.
I like when they're trying to sell you insurance on the telly. Yeah, Russ.
I do like the red panda. They are very cute.
Other insurance services not related to meerkats are available. Just so you know.
Well, I recently took some financial advice from you, didn't I? And I prefer the meerkat's advice to yours.
Look, I gave you higher quality chartered financial planning. Listen to this. And I can't even say the word. Free.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it was free.
I didn't even send him an invoice. What's going on with my life?
Right, okay.
Should I send him an invoice? The answer is yes.
You should have sent an invoice that just had 0.00 on it. Just to be petty, you have to send the invoice.
You know what? What would have been pettier is 0.17. 17p.
No.
17p.
The thing about it, the thing in my head about it that's petty is you leave the amount until the last page, so he's flicking through, panicking like he's got to pay something, and then it just says nothing, and it's just
no. I want it to be an amount. I want it to be either a random amount or something really funny, like 12 shirt buttons and a pair of trousers, or like something like that. Like not like I want to enter a barter system that involves Russ giving me one of his t-shirts so I can wear it as a.
You wear that as a tee.
Right, let's move on with the show, and let's. How did we get on? Are we? If you'd like listeners to barter for one of the pieces of Russell's one of Russell's clothes, please feel free to get in touch or to answer the question of the podcast using the following channels.
So if you want to find us on Twitter, we're at Ola Kindness. If you want to find us on Facebook, don't look for Chris Dames because he's not there anymore.
Don't exist on Facebook.
He refuses to be there ever again. So you can put the Kindness Project in and we should come up somewhere along the way. Same for Google, the Kindness Project podcast. If you type www.thekindnessproject.co.uk, that's our the website, and it will come up in the bar and it will be nice and blue. Email Ola at thekindnessproject.co.uk. And personal Twitter for you, Dad, is
At Chris Dames, CHRISDAEMS.
and I'm at Charlotte J Dames. So it's CHARLOTTEJDAEMS.
How's that catching on? And now you're at uni. Are you adopting the J moniker? And is it kicking off? Are people calling you Charlotte J Dames?
I don't know.
That's an awkward one though, isn't it? Because if you have that put on a shirt or that, it's CJD.
Yeah.
Yeah, mad cow disease. No comment. Anyway, let's move on.
I like it. I don't.
No, I like it as well. Let's talk about Kindness News. And currently on Kindness News, we are talking about the independent inspirational list of people and highlighting every week 2 people who are doing amazing work. Now, Charlotte, I'm going to give you the choice. We've got Gary and we've got Jetsy. Would you like to
Rock, paper, scissors for it? Sure.
rock, paper, scissors? Go on then. What one do you want first?
I don't know. What one do you want? So I can say I want that one, and then if I win, I can have that one.
I want Jersey.
Okay. We're rock, paper, scissors for that one.
Jersey, right?
Yep.
Go on then. Bing, bang, walla, walla, smash. No, you. What? That's how you do rock, paper, scissors.
Clearly, Charlotte's won.
No, she wasn't. Right. Body got shot by a US. Oh, right, you win. You get Jersey.
Thank you.
Right, no, best out of 3. Body got shot by a UFO. Oh, 2-3. Got absolutely
You're predictable.
I wanted Gary in the first place. It was all reverse psychology.
I just want an excuse to play rock, paper, scissors.
Maybe that's the first time anybody's played rock, paper, scissors on a podcast. Gary Collett, let me tell you about him. In 2020, Gary was the first COVID patient to arrive in intensive care at Barnet Hospital. After 6 weeks in a coma and a further stay in the hospital, Gary was discharged home. The Mill Hill resident has gone on to raise more than £10,000 for the Royal Free Charity, where fundraising efforts included a London to Brighton bike ride while still suffering from long COVID. Gary is one incredible man, says his nominator. Clearly he is, because, focusing his efforts on helping other people is amazing. He's a true inspiration to others and gives up his time to speak to other COVID patients about his recovery and to give them advice. Nothing is too much for him, and I would love him to be recognised for his bravery and hard work. I love that. And I'll tell you what's important about that. That sort of way to cope with adversity by doing good for other people, going through a tough time yourself and realising actually there's an opportunity to give a bit back in the world is amazing. So well done, Gary. Keep up the great work.
Jessie Davies. Welsh social media influencer Jessie, who has had a stutter since the age of 4, is raising awareness of speech impediments through her TikTok videos. The films, which have been viewed more than 58 million times, are helping to educate people about the condition. Jessie from Sinon Valley set up her TikTok account last year to record videos of herself approaching people in public to tackle her anxiety. After receiving an overwhelming response from viewers, Jessie has dedicated her platform to helping others with speech impediments, deepening people's deep understanding of how common stammers are, and explaining how people can be supportive of people with impediments, particularly by encouraging patience and improving listening.
No, I love that. Absolutely love that. And, I think one of the benefits of social media is effectively showcasing people who are going through challenges, but, helping people understand that they're not alone if they're going through a particular challenge is actually one of the advantages of doing that. let's move on to the interview for this episode. We've got part 3 of our interview with Lauren Janus. Lauren is amazingly insightful in the world of philanthropy, helping people work out who to give money away to do a bit of good. So let's listen to what Lauren's got to say.
It's a real pivot. I mean, that change of mindset from accumulating wealth to seeing the pounds accumulate over time to thinking about, well, how giving this away and giving it to people that I don't necessarily have control over is, that's a mind shift.
I don't know whether it is a pivot. I think it's more of a sort of gradual turn, because in my experience, like, sort of, people need the time and space to actually go, you know what, I don't really sort of need this, and I don't think people can change their mind about sort of stuff overnight. I think they need to sort of think about it. But it's an interesting one, isn't it? What do you think, puts people off giving money away, and how do we sort of have better conversations around making people more comfortable with the idea?
I think a lot of it is fear.
Yeah.
I think there is the lack of control that is really difficult for people. When a person gets to a point of thinking, right, I'm gonna donate to charity. I have more than I need, or even I've decided, what is enough for me and what I could then continue to give away. I think that there can be a real fear around, well, what if they don't spend it correctly? Or, what if my money goes to waste? Or, what if there's a scandal? And I found that particularly in the UK. I mean, there's a massive giving, the giving philosophy and ideas around giving are quite different for a British audience versus an American audience, which I found fascinating. But I think that fear is constant because it is a lack of control, and you have to give up. There's a strong element of trust.
And as we know, I mean, we in every single sector, there's always the stories of bad news that outweigh the good. And I think the most pertinent, and only because funny enough, a few years ago, we were in the same office block in London as them. There was the big story about the kids' company. Do you remember that?
I do remember kids' company.
Where they were fundraising. I think the lady was an amazing fundraiser, but just didn't have the framework in place to manage the money particularly well, and no systems and processes. She was very charismatic and very good at raising money, but just didn't run an organisation particularly well. And that got huge amounts of publicity. But the problem with that, Lauren, is that then that becomes indicative of waste in the charity sector, when there's thousands of charities that do it really well, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a particular problem in the UK because large charities have such a space in the public consciousness.
Yeah.
In the US, it's not that way. Right. And that was a real lesson to me when I moved to the UK.
So explain to me the differences. What differences are you finding working in the US now as opposed to the UK?
Oh, it's fascinating to me. I mean, I had the most difficulty adjusting to the UK culture because obviously I'm an American, and I just assumed when we moved there, we both speak English. Like, how different can it be? But what really struck me about the British approach to giving was that, number one, it was more expected, I felt. And that I think probably comes from history of World War II, the real kind of everybody chip in, we've got to kind of get this done mentality. And then the second one was that, charities in the UK are household names. They're not in the US. And that is really, I think, because of the federal system in the US, where we're much more
regionalized, right? Regionalized.
Exactly.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Exactly. I mean, in the UK, as you know, a Tesco in Edinburgh looks this exact same as a Tesco in Bristol. It's not that way in the US. Everything is very regionalized. Right. And so the idea, we do have national charities, but they don't hold the same kind of
sway. Yeah. It's not like
And
Cancer Research UK or
no,
yeah.
no.
Interesting.
People give on a much more local basis in the US. And, they'll give to their church or their local religious institution. They'll give to their schools, hospital or alma maters. Universities are a major source of fundraising in the US. And they'll give to medical research, but it'll be local. Like it'll be the local cancer research center.
Yeah.
Or the local hospital.
I mean, there's such an interesting debate around there around, I suppose research can be regionalised, but if only if these hubs are communicating with each other in a really positive way to share their experiences. I mean, I don't know enough about research to understand what the best way to do it is, but it feels like you sort of need a bit of a hub to sort of collate all of the local research. But I don't know. Just out of interest, what the other, like the non-work main differences you've found about the UK and the US?
Okay, the ones that surprised me the most. I guess so. When we moved to the UK, I was 7 months pregnant with our first child, and so I got to kind of view healthcare in the US versus in the UK, and the whole idea. And ended up having we had a second child in the UK too, and so I just think the whole mentality about health is completely different, and that's because you have a nationalized healthcare. But the very idea that I could take my child to the local church to get weighed with all the other babies nearby was it was mind-blowing. Because in the US, you go to your pediatrician. Everybody goes to a pediatrician. The fact that I did not have, when I told my friends at home that I didn't take my children to a pediatrician, they thought I was mad. Like, what? You just take them to a regular GP? How can they possibly know about babies?
Which is probably a fair point. I mean, GPs are very generalist by nature, but I wouldn't.
They get an awful lot of healthy people out of it.
Yeah, you know what though? I funny enough, before Charlotte left for uni, we were having this conversation on the day we left. And again, look, there's loads of arguments for both sides of the debate. And again, one of the reasons that I feel lucky is because I live in a country whereas if I need urgent health care, I haven't got to worry about potentially £100,000 bill. Now, you could argue that you take out private medical insurance and that covers the cost of all that sort of stuff. But I think people living in the UK get really used to just knowing that, if you need healthcare, yes, it can be slow and there's sort of downsides to it, certainly. But knowing that free at the point of care stuff feels like it's the right way to do it. But I'm pretty sure a lot of our American listeners would disagree.
Honestly, Chris, I agree with you. It just, to me, it felt like there was a communal, like everybody had a basic standard of understanding of the kind of health that everybody in the community should have. All the babies should be weighed and should be looked after in the same way. If the very idea that, if you need penicillin or like an antibiotic, you should go get an antibiotic. Whereas in the US, I feel like there's all this questioning of like, well, can you afford it? Did you, do you have the right forms? Do you have you filled out the paperwork?
Shouldn't matter, should it?
It shouldn't matter. For all children, all people need to be taken care of.
100%. I agree. I mean, hearing stories about the American system and people, I can't remember what it was. Oh no, there's a new Netflix documentary talking about money. Funny enough.
Oh, really?
And I've literally only just got 10 to 15 minutes in, but effectively, what one of the ladies who was working 2 jobs and 80 hours a week and sort of working really hard said, I'd love to earn more money so I could buy some antidepressant medicine because because I can't afford it and I'm really struggling with these symptoms. Now that, Lauren, absolutely blew my mind. That just,
Really?
for me, that's just, well, you just go along to your GP. And again, there's an entirely different debate about whether we're too reliant on drugs to solve mental health issues, and that putting that
It's
aside.
suffering.
Yeah, but the additional pressure that puts on her, because I'd love to have that option, but I can't afford it. It's just mad, isn't it? It's just sort of that to me is a really big reason why I think the UK system or a similar sort of arrangement just works. Because I think we're letting down people in the society if they can't just go and get that help.
I fully agree.
Yeah. I tell you what's interesting, and we will get back to my planned questions in a minute. Do you think part of that is because over the last few decades, we've become more, particularly in the West, we've become more individualist and less collective?
Absolutely. I fully agree that. And I mean, that's one of the things that I so much enjoyed about the UK is there was much more of a collective spirit of just kind of everybody chip in, get it done. Everybody deserves the same thing. I mean, Americans we are by nature individualistic. We broke away because we wanted to be individuals.
There's benefits to that, right? There are advantages to that.
There are advantages, but the level of division that I see now, even coming back after 8 years to the US, and just seeing the way that people can speak to each other, that are neighbors, and kind of the fundamental distrust. And, if you don't agree with me on this one issue, we have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Yeah.
It's not healthy for society nor for individuals.
It's really interesting. Let's get back to the less contentious subject of the philanthropy. If somebody's listening to this podcast, they just don't know where to start. They're thinking about sort of helping a cause they really believe in, but they're just like, well, there's too much out there. Where should they start? Where should they? Because I know you spoke earlier about starting with your values. So is there an exercise that you use with your clients that you could share with us that might be a really useful starting point?
Yeah. DIY philanthropy. Absolutely. I would start, what I always talk to people about is, you want to start slow to go fast in philanthropy. And that really means taking the time to think about certainly your values, think about where you've given before, really question yourself, why am I giving? Why do I give to Oxfam every month? Is it because at some point somebody stopped me on the street and I just haven't stopped the donation? Or is it because I was really moved by, what the Syrians are going through and I wanted to support them in a meaningful and consistent manner? And really, I would even start writing that down. Like, I give 20 pounds to Oxfam every month because of XYZ, and, write down where you're currently giving. And then I would think about, what are the issues in the world that you think you could have that are most burning for you right now? And then start doing a little bit of brainstorming and a little bit of research and thinking outside of the box about the kinds of organizations that you might support and the kinds of communities that you might support. So I would start talking to people. I'd start talking. Community foundations are a great resource, and they're growing in the UK. They're quite a good network in the US. To call up a community foundation program officer and ask about what programs are going on in my community.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, is there a framework or a network of community foundations that people can have a look at?
Honestly, I would just Google, find out what your local community. There is one in the UK. I'm blanking on the name, but there is a network of.
We'll find it. We'll find it and we'll put it in the show notes. Now, clearly, I get your reaction about DIY philanthropy. It's the same as when people say to me, should I do my financial planning DIY style? And the reality is you can get to a point where that works,
Yep.
but also you might need professional advice. So at what stage is that right? Well, what stage should people be thinking, you know what, I could really do with Lauren's help?
Yeah, good question. So clients come to us at a couple different times in their lives. I'm thinking of one client that we've had for quite a while, which is unusual for us because we don't typically keep clients for more than a couple years. But one who is an older couple, and they were just feeling overwhelmed. They were incredibly generous. They are incredibly generous, but I mean, the thing with charities is they're really good at their jobs. And so if you send them money, they're going to send you more. So they're going to ask you for more and more. And in some cases, they'll they'll pass your name around. So you'll get emails or mail from charities you've never heard of. And so this one client they were just writing checks all the time because they couldn't get their handle over their head around where they were giving, how much they were giving to specific issues. And it was a sense of overwhelm.
The problem is, the danger of that is they just decide to stop, right? They just decide, actually, this is too much.
Exactly.
Because they've lost that connection to purpose, right? That's a challenge.
Exactly. And that sense of control over your giving. I mean, we talk about trust and control, and I think, once you give the money away, that's when you give away control. But you need to have control over where you know it's going, so that you have a strategy and a plan for your gifts. So that was one client. Another client came to us, actually a couple, because they've been thinking about giving on a larger level for some time, but something happened. In this case, it was the killing of George Floyd that really propelled them in thinking, right, we need to step it up. We need to have a real strategy for our giving. We don't want to die rich. We don't want to die even wealthy. We want to die with, the bare minimum, and we need a plan to get there.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I've got one client who's, I don't know if I told you this before, who's given me the mission, and again, giving is part of this sort of overall mission. The way he puts it is, Chris, you need to make sure my last check bounces, and I just I don't know how I'm going to do that, Lauren. Like, genuinely.
I love that.
You need to make sure that my final check. I was like, you've just made and again, it's become a bit of a every time we get together, it's going as that planning going, Chris, about my last check just completely bouncing. It's like, okay, yeah, all right, but that's interesting, isn't it? That sort of. I'm having a lot more conversations about this at the minute. I want to see the positive impact of my money whilst I'm alive, whilst getting the balance right between making sure I never run out again. And that is a challenge, but also with help of professionals, hopefully like you and I, is something that people can do. Where can people find out a little bit more about you, the work you do, and how to get in touch?
Absolutely. Well, you can certainly start with our website at Phila Engaged Giving, and it's just philagiving.com, PHILA giving.com. And sign up for our newsletter. I'll send you the link because we send out a newsletter every month that has all sorts of resources on giving and a blog post from us about kind of what we're thinking about at the moment. But it's just a really rich resource, and I would love to have people that widen that community.
Sure. And what we'll do when this interview goes out, the podcast, we'll make sure that goes on the show notes. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us again. We really appreciate your time on the Kindness Project. Have a lovely remainder of the day.
It was an absolute pleasure, Chris. Thank you.
So that was the last part of the interview. That is it for another episode of the Kindness Project. Have a lovely week, and we'll see you on the podcast very, very soon.
Bye.
Bye.